Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
Okay,
How are you?
I am good. I have seen um three movies since
Oh my goodness.
in the last 2 weeks, and all three of them were like hit me right in the nostalgia feels. Um, because I saw Disney's The Haunted Mansion,
Hmm.
um, we talked about this not on the podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It had everything. It had an actually like a really well done original story. Um, that was
Interesting.
very uh it was very tied into New Orleans culture.
Yeah.
Um,
Ooh, I can't
because
wait.
you
Yeah.
know Disneyland is it's New Orleans Square and it's that whole culture there.
I actually didn't know it was in New Orleans Square because I haven't been to Disneyland. I
oh
don't I don't
yeah.
know. I actually don't know very much about it, but
Oh no,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
the original Haunted Mansion in Disneyland, it's not in like Frontierland or whatever it is in
Yeah.
or in Disney World. It's in
Adventureland or Frontierland,
yeah,
whichever order
yeah.
it's in, yeah.
It's in
New
or
Orleans
is it in
Square.
Liberty Square? I think it's technically in Liberty Square.
I think you're right. I think it is in Liberty
But
Square.
but so in Disneyland it's in New Orleans Square, and like the beignet restaurant is like right next to it and everything, and it's all like jazz culture. And so like there's a lot of that in there. The actual like tie-ins to the wall, like to the walls of the mansion, and like the actual ghosts from the ride and stuff, like so good
Ugh,
without being
love.
kitschy.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and didn't even recognize that Jared Leto was Jared Leto.
You know, he's really good.
Yeah.
He's really
And I
good.
can usually tell when it's him, and because he pisses me off so much, didn't even bother. I knew it was him and it didn't bother me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like the highest recommendation for this
Yeah.
movie.
And then I on Tuesday saw the Barbie movie. I
Oh,
saw
I need to go to
Barbie,
this.
and it was genuinely one of the funniest movies. Like it was just so well done. The point was great. Like I get the message and everything, but also just like it was so funny. Um,
Oh,
and then
I need
I
to go to the
went
movies.
and then I went on a deep dive with my parents about the Barbies that I used to have and which sets I had complete sets of the Barbies. And because I had been saying random Easter egg things to Dan during the movie, and he was like, "How do you know that much about Barbies?" I was like, "How do you not?"
Right. Where were you in 1998, Dan?
Not playing with Ocean Friends Ken. Um,
Sure thing. And little Kelly.
cool,
I have
fun
not seen the
Kelly.
movie. This is just my memories from 20
Yeah,
years
no, don't
ago.
worry. Kelly and Ocean Friends Ken definitely not in the movie, just in here. Um,
Oh, just in the brains. Okay, okay.
yeah. And then I also yesterday saw a movie, not in the theaters. I saw it on Peacock, but it was the Super Mario movie. I finally saw it.
How was it?
So good.
Oh, I was gonna watch it on my cruise, and we never made it
Yeah, well,
that long.
it's on Peacock right now. So
Oh, good. I pay for that still, so I
yeah,
should watch it. I still pay for it.
um again, like so many callbacks to the games, like so many things that I recognized. The music was fantastic. Like it was
Only heard good things about this movie.
yeah. No, and like everything, like so it was like all of this music and stuff and like images and things that were like my childhood screaming at me, and I was like, this is a good week for movies.
Oh, yeah. I also really want to see Talk to Me. And Zach, my horror friend,
My sister
he
just
said
saw
it's
it.
incredible.
My sister just saw it on Saturday, I think, at the
Free?
drive-in. No, Gabby saw it at the
Oh,
drive-in on
oh.
Saturday, but I haven't seen her since then, so I don't know
I mean, not
what.
anything against Gabby. I realized I was like, oh, like, not for you.
Yeah,
But like, I don't text Gabby. So like, I'm not
no.
gonna text her after.
Yeah, no, you just can't text her. No, but I
Yeah.
should see her tomorrow maybe, so I'll ask her how it was.
Zach said it's incredible. He said it's one of the best horrors he's seen in a while, which I've heard very mixed reviews about it, but
Mm.
it's on my list. So maybe I'll do
Yeah,
a triple threat this weekend.
she
We'll see.
saw it at the drive-in with Blue Beetle.
Which like I don't know anything about that movie
Me.
except we have a song on it. Like that's the only reason I even knew it existed. Was
Yeah.
because I saw it on our like release schedule. Like
Yeah, no.
did she say that? Oh, you haven't talked to her.
I
Let me
haven't
know if
talked to
that's
her,
cool
yeah.
and what it's
Okay.
about when you talk to
All right.
her.
Perfect. How are you?
I am great. Like I said, tried to have, like if you listened last week, I tried to have a chill weekend, and I did that by just like binging TV and playing video games. It's the end of the
Yeah.
month, so for those of you on Xbox, first of all, feel free to be my friend. I don't play with other people well, but I'm happy to have friends on Xbox.
Yeah.
But it's the end of the month, so Game Pass is releasing new games and getting rid of other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to like look on. I'm big in the Xbox community on Reddit now. That is my top Reddit, I think. And so I try to like see what's leaving, make sure I didn't miss anything. And there's this game called Tiny Tins. Totally like under the radar. It is incredible. It has like similar elements to like it makes me think of when I got really angry playing the original Spyro and trying to like soar at the right time. You know how
Mm.
like when you're learning from the tiger and you just soar just right to land on the next like
Yeah.
shoot. I don't know if you played Spyro as much as me as a child, but I haven't played this game in 20 years and I can very specifically tell you what it was. And so it
That's
has
me,
some of
and
those same
that's me with Sonic
elements.
Adventure.
Oh, I can also do it with Sonic Adventure. But then it has like it's just so cute and it reminds me of some of the like elements of Costume Quest, which is one of my favorite games. It is not that hard. It is not that like deep, but it's just such a fun and cute game.
Yeah.
So it kind of combines those elements and it's leaving on the 31st and I'm so concerned I'm not going to finish it in time because it has like six different rooms you have to get through and I've
Yeah.
only got through two and it leaves on the 31st. So I'm playing like hardcore ball out this weekend with it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I've been watching TV and my aunt just discovered The Masked Singer. So I had only watched the first season and they're like on the sixth season now. But then I was like, well, I should just like catch up with you because the new season comes out in September and we can watch it all together. And I love a good watch along. So I have been like I'm starting to like plow through and
I
I'm like only
also I also watch The Masked Singer. I want to be a part of this.
okay, but like you're ahead of everyone, right? Like
Oh yeah, I mean I'm caught up. But I'm saying
yeah,
like
yeah.
when the new season comes out, I want to be a part
Oh,
of
yes, you can be a part of our crew. It'll be like a weekend binge along. Like we play what we call the boat game. It is Sid Meier's Civilization Revolution. It is not called the boat game, but that's what we call it. And we play that because it's like 4 hour games when you play it. Like it takes like 4 hours to get through a full game. And we play that and we watch our TV. And so I'm like binging The Masked Singer right now.
Fantastic.
I'm doing okay on my guesses though. I'm pretty smart.
I only guess when I have a solid idea. I don't make wild guesses. I can't bring myself to just say names.
I make wild guesses. I am insanely chaotic when I watch this show. But I've done okay on my chaos.
Good.
I'm probably like a solid 35% like rate, which I feel is pretty high because some of these are insane. Like there are people like one was a YouTube star and I had never heard of or a Twitch star and I had never heard of him. So like that's not my fault.
Well,
I didn't even know
and occasionally I guess them and I'm very, very confident and I know who they are and then I'm right. And none of the judges thought of them at all. Like they aren't people who cross their mind at all. And I'm like, do you not know who these people
right. That
are?
these people yeah. Yeah. I just got for those of you who are 7 seasons ahead of me because I'm on season 3. They just revealed Beyond Warwick, so that's where I am. If you need like a
Oh
place,
yeah, you got a lot to watch.
yeah, and I got that one. I mean, I love. Also, if you don't follow her on Twitter, she is the best Twitter
Oh my
to
God, I was
follow.
literally just reading an article about some of her chaotic tweets.
They're incredible. She is the best.
Um,
So
the
highly
tweet
recommend.
the tweet that set off this article was Dionne Warwick tweeted and said, who is Olivia Rodrigo yelling at and good for you, so I know who we're mad at.
She's so chaotic on Twitter. It is incredible. Like that's one of many. One
Yeah.
of many.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. Um, yeah, so that's where I'm at in life. So I'm trying to binge through Masked Singer before the end of September and play through Tinykins before it gets taken away from me. So I'll be glued to the TV and not talking to people for a month and a half. But yeah, while I'm doing that, I should keep my spirits up and keep my spirituality
Should.
high. What's gonna tell
Hi.
me?
So my quote for today is from Benjamin Disraeli, who was a former Prime Minister of the UK. But his quote said, "Never apologize for showing feeling. When you do so, you apologize for truth."
Facts. I like it.
Yeah.
So
I
when
do
we
too.
cry on the show, like we do sometimes, we're just speaking our truth.
I have never apologized for crying in my entire life.
I have.
I lied.
I
I definitely have.
I
In
don't
fact,
do well when I
I think, in fact, I apologized for crying literally a week ago. Last time we were recording, I had to
cry.
call someone and apologize for crying.
That was different. You were not apologizing for crying. You were apologizing for spiraling. Like those are, but still, like it was still like your truth and like valid
Yeah,
feelings. So it's not
yeah,
that you were like wrong feeling.
right.
But yeah, those are different things. Um, things we will not apologize for. The chaos that is The Exorcist. Because you are here
And
now. You've
I
committed.
will never apologize for accidentally getting Dan addicted to the show.
That is my new favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like in
I
general,
wish, I wish you could see him watching it with me.
you should like super secretly like FaceTime me one day while you're watching it and like just like super sneak peek him because I think of him now when I think about The Exorcist, he's my first thought. And like we've never even spoken. And he's my first thought
Yeah.
for The Exorcist.
It's okay.
I want him to be our guest on the season wrap up.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
I
no,
would love
that's gonna have to happen because it's gonna be the most chaotic. He has no idea what he's talking about really, and he probably won't have even listened to the podcast to know what we're talking about.
oh, yes. And that will be our first time speaking. Like it's
Yeah.
yes, I'm excited. All of you are excited. You just don't know it yet.
Hold on. Oh, now
That's
I
gonna
gotta look at the calendar and make sure I know when that is.
okay. It's 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, so hold on. This is 6. So 7, 8, 9, 10. Season wrap up. Okay, September 25th.
Oh, right before the Masked Singer premieres. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. I'll just
Love,
I'll just
love.
like spring it on him. We have a wedding to go to that Saturday and I'll be like, so
Oh, by the way, you have
by
plans
the
for Monday
way.
now.
Yeah. Actually,
That's perfect.
here's the thing. He has
We'll have to
course,
reschedule because his
yeah. We'll have to
orchestra.
reschedule
All
because
right,
he has rehearsals on Mondays, but we'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. That's fine. It's worth it. It's worth
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So now that we've spiraled a bit, this week we are speaking about The Exorcist, season 1, episode 6, called Star of the Morning, which is also what Lucifer is known as. So if that doesn't set the mood, I don't know what does.
Right.
It aired November 4th, 2016. It was rated 7.9 out of 10, which is fine. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that. Number one song is Still Closer. It's a very boring music here. I mean, love this. I still love that song, but like, Jesus Christ,
But
move on.
you're right.
Yeah.
It's like the 2 years that Happy was the number one song for like 2 years
Oh my
straight.
gosh. Oh, that was so annoying. Yeah. But the number one movie, and I love a good Marvel talk. The number one movie was Doctor Strange.
The first
So,
one.
the first one, yeah, which
Okay.
was incredible. I remember when it came out and I saw it twice, and then like I went home and watched it with my dad, and he watched it again like the next week. Like I really enjoyed the first one.
I do too.
Upon my like recent rewatch, I didn't enjoy as much as I remembered enjoying it.
I remember enjoying it a lot when it came out, but I think I was still in my like I just came home from Disney, everything that Disney does is gold phase.
Mm,
And so I think I just like really, really
yeah.
loved it. And I still loved Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor
Yes.
Strange. I think he's fantastic, but upon a rewatch, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I did.
Yep. That's how I felt. That's how I felt like most recently. Yeah, and the number one book is Escape Clause by John Sanford, which I think I've heard of but have not read. And I
Okay,
meant to look him up, but I did. So
great.
I don't remember. But I think I've read something else of his.
Interesting. No, I have not.
I'm sure it's lovely. So on this day, I have three facts for you. Going from worst to best. Um, this was because I very specifically remember this day. Michael Blay's son was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, I remember that. That was
And like
awful.
I like very much remember that day. It was so sad.
Yeah.
But it's also the day that the Paris Agreement for climate change went into effect. So we started believing climate change a bit more than we had in the past, which is nice. Um,
Yeah.
but as I mentioned, I was going to reference royalty this week, and this is for you and not me because I am not involved. But this is the day The Crown premiered, and so I know. So you could go watch the sixth episode of The Exorcist and follow it up with the first episode of The Crown.
Beautiful.
What a day! What a
Did
day!
see the first episode of The
Um,
Crown was so good.
I
So
watched
good.
it one time a long time ago, and I didn't get into it. And I stopped it before the end, but I'm gonna give it a go another day. I have a whole slew of like royalty shows that I like. Once my mind is like set that I'm watching them and enjoying them, I'm gonna watch them all at one time. So
Yeah.
uh, I'll get there probably. It's a phase.
I'm still waiting for them to announce. They have announced that this season 6 of The Crown will be coming out in the fall. And they announced that
Hmm.
post strike,
Okay, so it's like actually gonna happen.
but they still
Interesting.
haven't given me a day. I don't know what fall
Hmm.
2023 means.
Mean a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
my escalators, they said we're coming in summer of 2023, and they're not here yet. And we're almost done with summer, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
summer is very close to over.
Yeah, well, they've changed the signs in the past few weeks to August, and now August is almost over, and my escalators are still not fixed at my train station. So it adds 10 minutes to my morning commute because I have to walk around the world. So I don't believe seasons when they tell me. I need a solid
Yeah.
date, very
Yeah.
concrete date
Well,
to
my
move
fall
forward.
FabFitFun box shipped today, so fall's coming.
Yeah, I'm ready for fall. I'm here for it. Bye. Ugh, I'll stop being mad. That'll be nice for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, so this episode was directed by Jennifer Pong, who is known for Advantageous. I do not know what that is. Um, The Flight Attendant, which I do know what that is.
Yeah.
Foundation, and one of like the most talked about shows I've seen in a while, The Boys. Like
I have not seen it, but I have heard
I haven't
so
seen it
much
yet
about it.
either.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about the story. I've heard great things about the visuals, and
Yeah.
we've had some music in it, and I've heard great things about the music uses as well. So like
Nice.
I'm gonna watch it one day
Yeah.
because I mean it's right up my alley. It's like
Okay.
dark superhero, like it's in my wheelhouse. So I'll
Yeah, yeah,
watch it.
yeah.
But yeah, so she's good. She's doing
Yeah.
fine. And then the new writer for the week is Laura Marks, and she's known for some of my favorite things. The Good Fight, which I just finished.
You did.
Um, Servant, which I have not finished, but I did go to the premiere for. But that's the M. Night Shyamalan TV show on Apple TV
Oh, that's
Plus.
right.
That's incredible. And then she's also known for Brain Dead and The Expanse, which I have not watched.
I have
But
not watched, but I've heard good things about The Expanse.
yeah. So we'll see. And then the editor is Janet Weinberg, who we've talked about before. So
Perfect.
yes. And then this week, the person that I've been waiting for, Alan Ruck, who plays Henry Rance,
Oh,
aka
Rock.
one of my favorite people in the entire world. I just adore him. He
What
is
now?
known
What
for,
is he known for? I never heard of him before.
well, he's known for, let me tell you, he's known for Twister, Speed, The Happening, and last but certainly not least, Ferris
Ferris
Bueller's Day.
Bueller's Day Off.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Like, just
Yeah.
adore him and adore this movie. I have probably seen this movie at least 50 times. Like, truly one of
Well,
my favorites.
no, I love Ferris Bueller. Also, I was like the only person in the world who enjoyed The Happening. Um,
I did not watch it. I haven't seen it. So, like,
oh yeah, it has not had any good reviews except for mine personally. Um, um, and I love
it's
Speed.
about, yeah, awesome Speed.
What is it about? It is I'm pretty sure it's M. Night Shyamalan, isn't it?
Okay, could be.
But it is basically it's everyone is just dying and no one can figure out why. And then
Maybe I'll,
and then there's a
my,
Shyamalanian twist of what is actually happening. So
maybe I'll watch it in my horror Halloween October watches.
maybe. Yeah.
Because I love Alan Ruck. And he's also been in literally everything. Like, if you look at his credits, it's like every month he's in something. Like,
Yeah.
every year since Ferris Bueller, he's
Oh
been
yeah.
in something.
Absolutely.
So some other things. He's most recently Succession has just ended, but he is in Succession. He plays a very creepy role in Succession. He's like the creepy older guy with the
Yeah.
younger girl. He's like the uncle. I just started. I'm like not even through season 1, so don't have a lot of insight, but it
Yeah.
did just end. But to tie him into our sci-fi world, he played Dr. Crick in Fringe, your fave,
He did, my fave.
and he'll be upcoming in our talks because he plays Dr. Fletcher in Stargate Atlantis.
Yes, he
Um,
does.
so I'm ready for that. I know it's going to be like 7 years before I see it, but
It's totally fine.
so few facts. He almost died in 2002 from septicemia. What sucked. Did not know that.
Oh.
He played, so obviously in Ferris Bueller, he plays Matthew Broderick's BFF. He also played Matthew Broderick's BFF in the theater show Biloxi Blues.
Oh,
And
I forgot that he was in Biloxi Blues. Okay.
he was a like friend of the Brat Pack. He was never like in the Brat Pack, but he was like a friend because he was in a lot of films with a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And like directed by a lot of people that directed the Brat Pack. So good for him. Good for him. Love him. I only wish him well in the world of life because he's got to be one of the best people on the planet. And I don't. If you know bad things about him, don't tell me
Yeah, please don't.
because he is
Don't
just
don't
wonderful.
ruin that one. Don't ruin that one for us.
Please do not ruin Alan Ruck for me. All right. So last time we spoke, we left off with Casey escaping from an ambulance
Yep.
and killing some people. And we learned that Angela is actually Reagan.
Yeah.
So a lot of things happened last episode.
Right.
And we start with a flashback of San Diego today, where Chris and Regan are being interviewed for a book that Chris released about Reagan's exorcism.
No.
And
funny Doug story. Doug did not watch this episode with me, but he was watching Stargate with me, and so when I switched to The Exorcist, he watched like a couple minutes before he left. And so it's the flashback scene, right? And he just goes, "Is this show related to the original movie?" I said, mm-hmm. Then I kind of explained to him the end of episode 5, and he goes, "Oh, so like that wasn't in the promo for the show? It was just like randomly thrown at you in the middle of the season?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I would have like led with that." I go, "Absolutely not, because you have no idea how." He was like, "To get like people interested in it." I go, "Do you know how fucking?" I go, "You can ask Dan what my reaction to finding it out was. There was no."
if they had led with that, I would not have watched this show.
Correct.
That is not how you promote horror.
No.
No, Doug. Stick to your lane. Stick to your sci-fi lane.
Yeah. No. It was.
No. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Mm-mm. Ugh, poor thing. Yeah. But yeah. So she's talking in her interview about the devil and my daughter. And Reagan is like, she doesn't want to, obviously doesn't want to talk about it. And she doesn't remember a lot of it, which we know from the film and
Yeah.
from the last episode if you've forgotten. And she keeps asking her, and he's like, and they're like, so you're kind of shy, or she, like, was I think Chris said she was shy, and she was like, oh, I'm not shy, I'm quiet. That's not the same thing. And I was like, you tell him, Reagan.
Like, did you ever think that
Um,
maybe it wasn't a demon and it was something else?
yeah.
What are you insinuating, sir?
This like interviewer is the worst.
He
Like
is worse. He is worse than Stanley Tucci in The Hunger Games.
yes, he is. And he's asking her, he's like, well, what was it like? And she's like, all I remember is someone was like he kept asking me to come closer. And I couldn't remember anything else. And then he's like, do you think you'll ever be able to live a normal life? You're gonna ask a teenager that? Like, how rude. Like,
So rude.
that is so mean. Like, ugh. And that's where we hit the credits while she's contemplating the rest of her life.
Well, Dan is whistling the theme song.
Plus, he's a super horror fan now. And
Yeah.
he's converted. He just goes,
Yeah. Correct.
We come back and we have two scenes at the same time. We have Kat and Chris, and we have Angela and Henry. And so Kat and Chris are like talking about how their relationship is gonna unfold. And she's like, so what do I call you? Whatever. She's like, well, why don't you call me something cute like Nana, or we can come up with like a cute name together, because she doesn't want to be grandma. And then we learn that like she's talking to her and she's like, you know who you look like? And she's like, who? And she's like, you look like a young, like
Me.
Chris, you know, like you look like a young me. And she's like, have you heard that? And she's like, never in my life.
No.
And I was like, God, I just love her. Like, she's
Yeah.
just so like, she's like, absolutely not. No, this is crazy. And then we go to Angela and Henry, who are still talking about how she has been lying to
Bye.
Henry all these
Yeah.
years. And like, I get that it's hard to accept, but, and like, I understand not telling him that, which we can talk about in the last episode, but like, when Casey got possessed, that's the time to come out. And like, that's,
Well, and I think,
basically what Henry
and I think,
says,
yeah, that's what Henry says. He's like, I get you like running away. I get you not wanting to be a part of that.
Right.
But like now when all of this happened, you didn't tell me. And that's not cool.
Right. And like, I 100% agree. Like, when it started affecting their daughter and their family, like, you gotta like talk about it, because that's,
Yeah.
you know, you're the only one to experience now.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Kat and we learn that she like is blaming herself for everything, which like, fair. It is your fault. But
Literally she goes, I'm the one who called the police. And Chris goes, oh no, sweetie, it's not your fault. They just go, yes, it is.
yeah, no, it's 100% her fault. Like,
No, I go,
it's
yeah.
100% her fault.
She's like, don't blame yourself. I said, I blame her.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Angela and Henry are talking, and she's like, I don't want my mother staying here. And he's like, no, she's staying. She's the reason we're going to find Casey, because she's got the star power. And so we have to have her here. She's like, she can stay in those. He's like, no, she's going to stay here. And I was just like, poor Angela. Like, I know, like,
Well, but
I get that, like, that's probably
Here's
the right
thing.
choice. But
Yeah. Angela, she runs away. She changes her name. She finds somebody new. She tries to shut down her life. Then she gets married. She finds somebody that she like lugs enough that she wants to marry them. What she should do is say, hey, just so you know, I don't have a relationship with my mom. It was an emotionally abusive childhood. I left. I don't want her to have anything to do with my kids. I don't even want to discuss who she is. I just want to be done with that part of my life.
Yeah.
You say that, they know. He knows. Now he knows that if your mom shows up on the fucking doorstep, you don't want her there, even if it is a movie star. Like, But you lied to him. You have not even to this point explained how bad the relationship was.
Mhm.
So yeah, he has the right to be like, no, my kid's grandmother can stay here because you are a liar and she's trying to help us.
And like we know it's gonna get more attention that she's here, like which is 100% true. So
Yeah.
like I get it. Yeah. It's just like it's just a sticky situation.
Yeah.
And so now we're on the search for Casey. And everybody's putting out missing posters and they're like separating like search areas and doing the whole thing. And Marcus shows up and like makes eye contact with Angela. And they go into a powwow. And it's Marcus and Tomas and Angela. And Marcus is mad.
Pissed.
He is so salty. And he's like, why did you not like we did not have all the information we needed.
Yeah.
He's like, this is like it's ridiculous. Like, why would you not tell us? Like, it makes an agreed. And then he starts being like, well, this is how the exorcism goes. This is what this. And he looks at me and goes, well, you know this. I was like, you're not
He
wrong.
was like, he was
He's
like, when the spirit, he was like,
so
once the spirits bond together, well, you know, from what you experienced, you would fucking know.
yeah, he was wow, he was salty. And I was like, I get it though. Like he is trying his
Yeah.
best and you've just like put a kink in his
Literally,
plan.
he did everything. He yelled at Tomas. He did everything. He went above and beyond to save your daughter. And you fucking lied about the most important detail of this whole situation.
Right. Because now he knows that it's a whole different direction he needs to be going
Right.
in
It's
because
not
it's like,
just like
yeah,
it's not the same as like a simple messed up kid in an accidental possession. Like that's not what we're dealing with. It's not like the little kid in Mexico who it that's not it.
right, right. Like this is a whole different thing. So God bless. Yeah. So then he does start talking about integration, which is something we are not as familiar with, and we learn that once they've integrated, it's permanent. And so the devil has like, or the demon has put themselves into her soul, and there's no way to separate it after that. And that's scary. And so Tomas and Marcus go out for a chat, and Tomas is like, "What are we gonna do? This is that." And Marcus is like, "No, no. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go keep hunting for her. You can't be involved." And he's like, he tells him, he's like, "I envy you. Like you have something to live for. You have people to care about, and you have too much to lose, and that's why you can't do this."
Right.
And he's like,
You have things that the demon can use against you. I have nothing left in life. I have no one ever loved me. No one ever loved me. I don't love anyone else. I have nothing else in life except for my relationship with God, and so the demon can't fuck with me. You, sir,
"Yeah,
your
I have
little
like
dick you can't
75
keep in your
people.
pants.
You have too many people. You have family. You have Jessica. You have like a whole church of people that you care about. Like it's too much." And it made me
Yeah,
so sad. I love Marcus.
I
I
know.
care for him. But so then we go to the police statement. I forgot what it's called, but the police statement. And
Oh, like
they're
the vigil.
no, this is just like the announcement. This was like the announcement the police made. It's called something.
Oh, I
It's
don't remember.
very common when it's 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 my brain, not life. And so they're talking about it and they've changed it to calling it a kidnapping. And so because they're like, she couldn't have done all this damage by
Oh, yeah,
herself.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, but okay. And so they're giving all the specifics, and then the moth comes up and he's offering the $100,000 reward from what he got from Maria, and if for anyone who can help find Casey. And then Chris is obviously there with everyone, and people start asking questions, and they start asking Angela, and Chris just like snaps, and she's like, and they're like, what do you even have to do with this? No, she's like, she's my granddaughter. And I was like, oh, floodgates are open. Like, here we go. Like,
Because the next question
everyone,
is what happened to Reagan?
yeah, she's standing right here. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So then gear shift, and a woman comes out and starts talking about the murders of the people of color that we saw from like when they stole everyone's organs. And she's like, how are we not talking about this? And I'm like, here's the thing. Yes. Like,
And okay, that was beautifully done because
mhm,
they were there and they had their signs and but they did not encroach on anybody. There was no violence.
yeah,
There was not even like there was not even anger. There was just
That,
heartbrokenness in her voice. Like, and she didn't like accuse anyone. She just said, pay attention to us. Look at this. And then she just listed the 9 names.
and here's the thing, like that is a real world problem. But
Mhm.
also like people's organs were stolen. How is that being overlooked?
Well,
Much
here's
less
the
like
thing, but that's the thing is because they didn't tell you. They didn't,
yeah,
the news made it out like it was a gang problem instead of what it actually was. Nobody said it was a serial killer. Nobody said it was what it was. They said, oh, well, it's a poor black neighborhood, so it was just a gang killing, which is the police covering shit up. And
yeah.
it's the
Which we learned like the
indiscriminatory,
police are covering things up. Like
yeah. But it's the indiscriminatory coverage
yes.
of missing
Yeah.
peoples.
Yep.
And it is,
And it was very well done. But like they're missing organs, my God. Like ah, it's a big cover up. But yeah.
yeah.
So while this is happening, we have like flashes to I think is creepy Paul Giamatti, but later like it may have actually been the bishop now that I've seen later. I couldn't tell at the time.
Oh yeah, no,
All the
it was
organs.
the guy who Tomas ran into at the, what's it
I
called,
think he's a
home?
bishop.
I think
Like
so
that's what I
too.
picked up from the dinner. But at first
Yeah.
I thought it was the Paul Giamatti guy because it was just like flashes. You couldn't like really like super see who it was, I felt like.
Yeah.
But he's separating the organs and placing them on baking pans, for lack of a better description, and cremating the organs into ashes while all of this talk is going on about the like
And
neighborhood of people who he murdered.
the visual of the name of every person who was murdered while their organs are being put into the oven was horrific.
It was incredible and
Hmm.
disturbing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that scene could have been shot any better than it was.
Oh
Like, it
no,
was
I
so incredible. Like, that's one thing that I really like, which I feel like we haven't seen a ton of, but I really like the overlay of scenes that they do here, and they do such a good job of it.
yeah,
Like
because
what,
it's never confusing and it's always really pointed when it's done. And
and it always adds to it. Like sometimes it's like meant to be like used as a distraction, but it all like in other types of films. But this one is so well done, and it just makes it 10 times better. Like it's
yeah.
it's so good. And I could see something like this being overdone, but I
But they
mean,
haven't used it often.
yeah, we're in the sixth episode and it's happened twice in very different scenes. Like,
Yeah.
so I think it's well, I mean, I'm sure there's been a little bit of overlap, but twice that are like very like big scenes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then we go to the police interview and they're very specifically asking about Marcus's exorcism. And they're like, this is the guy you had in your house. And she's just like, yeah. And everyone very specifically leaves out Tomas. And I was like,
Well, no, no,
I
no.
get it.
No, that's not what happened. That's the police asks them about Tomas getting
Right.
arrested and says that they are deliberately hiding his name because they are part of the church and they want to protect the
Yeah.
priest because he did the exorcism against the church's wishes but not against her wishes, and so they're trying to protect him from
Yeah.
the
Well,
repercussions.
it was
But
Marcus who
they
was arrested, not Tomas.
Oh, was it? Oh
Remember?
yeah,
Because Tomas he
It
already
was
sent Tomas
Marcus.
away.
Oh, yeah, Tomas wasn't there. No, so the police don't know Tomas was involved.
Yeah. And they've like very clearly left him out because they're like, was anybody else here? And she's like, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
And like I get it, like I
My
get
bad.
it, but
I misunderstood that, and for some reason I was thinking they were covering up Tomas and needed to talk to Marcus. But no, you're right.
no, they had they known he was there, I think they would have covered it up
Yeah.
because they're trying to convert him to their cult that it probably is. And so like it would have been covered up, but like the rances are also like very specifically covering up that he was there. And I'm sure it's because he's just the head of the church. Um and then Henry starts having an episode. And I'm like, is he having an episode or is he just upset? Because like I could also see him just like shutting down because he knows that one, they're lying about Tomas, and like they're talking about all these things that just upset him. So I'm sure it was an episode, but I was also like,
It's not uncommon for stress to like cause episodes for things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so then they shift gears and they start asking about when they're like, she couldn't have possibly done this. Then they're like, but we also heard about what happened on the L train and that she ended up in a psych ward. So do you want to talk about that? And Angela does not. She's just like,
Obviously.
instead, she's just like, did they have families? And turns out one of the guys did, and it was sad. And she's like,
Heartbroken and
rocking a hard place. Like,
yeah.
it's your daughter, but also like now she's like killing people. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? So we go back to Kat and Chris, who have become a little duo this episode. And she walks in and Kat's watching the interview that we started the episode with. And they're kind of going back and forth. And Chris is like, she comes in and she's like, I know the book wasn't my finest moment. And we learned that it wasn't like a publicity grab. We learned that she was kicked off of her like production team and wasn't allowed to act anymore. And so they didn't have any money. And so she
Yeah.
had to find a way to make money to support them.
And she
And
didn't really have any marketable skills.
yeah, because all she had was acting. And
Yeah.
she was a mom. And so like she, had to do something. And this was the way she did it. And so like, while maybe it's not the best choice, maybe it was the only choice. And so like you
Yeah.
can't really
I
hate
mean,
her for
I
that.
guess she could
She
have
didn't know what else
prostituted herself or like,
for. But
which,
then like
I mean,
Angela wouldn't have liked that either. Like,
I
you know,
mean, yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Like what were her options? She could have gone and worked in like a factory. Like
Yeah.
there
I
weren't
mean, here's the thing. I guess at the end of the day, she could have. She could have worked a really shitty job and lived a life. Maybe not the life that they were used to, maybe not the lifestyle. There was other options. She didn't have to exploit her kid. She didn't do it out of the most selfish like
yeah.
motivation possible, but it's still exploiting your kid.
Yeah. And I think it was like a hindsight thing. Like I think she really didn't think it through how detrimental it was going to be because she was used to being in the spotlight and like her whole life was talked about. So it didn't seem that out of place for her.
Yeah.
But I think she didn't realize how much it was going to affect
I mean,
Reagan.
to be fair, like not really fair. It's a little petty, but like Reagan did kill her boyfriend.
Sure, but like it wasn't Reagan. It was the
Yeah, no, I know.
and I don't think that's why she did it, but you know. But yeah, so Chris is telling us everything we know because we've watched the movie, but she tells her about the Ouija board and how it came around and her
Which is good.
bestie.
I appreciated that because I appreciated the scene because it made it so if you had seen the movie, if you were familiar with the story, it was just a refresher. And if you weren't, it gave you details that are necessary to understand Rag's story.
Yep, absolutely. And so I thought that was done really well. And it turns out the whole time, well, not the whole time, but towards the end, Angela had been near the door and was listening and heard the conversation where Kat was sticking up for her, which was nice because like,
Yeah.
Kat's been kind of a brat because she's been grieving. And so like she heard Kat sticking up for her and she heard Chris saying it was all her fault. And so like
Yeah.
the people that she's had the most strife with really have always tried to have her back. And even if it wasn't. So we go back to the church and Maria's talking to Tomas and she brings up her donation and he's like, I'm sorry, I should have told you what it was used for. And she's like, oh, absolutely not. I gave it to you. You can use it for whatever you want. And like, because she's who she is. And she starts talking about this dinner she's having or that somebody's having that she's attending and she wants him to come to network. And I was like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like priest networking is a problem. Like we should be like congregating, like building relationships. So, like networking is a business tactic and there should not be a business side of the church, in my opinion. It's very different. So already I'm like sketched out. I'm like, this is shady. And then Jessica comes in. to visit. And I was like, maybe don't just drop by the church, but fine. Here we are,
Right.
making choices. And we go to Marcus, who's hanging out with Cherry, and I completely forgot her like partner's name.
Oh.
Um,
Oh God, what are their names? Lester.
Lester. So it's Marcus, Cherry, Lester, and Father Bennett.
Yeah.
And we learn that Tattersall went out of business a few years back. And that so it's really shady that these trucks are going around picking people up, doing things, and that the company itself is still donating money to the Friars of Ascension, even though it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, the company doesn't exist, but all of their property was acquisitioned by the Walters Group.
People of all.
I mean, you thought she was shady from the beginning, and I wasn't disagreeing with you, but like this is like not shady. This is like fucking holding the umbrella level of shade.
Yeah. So, was that a JFK reference?
What?
Was that meant to be a JFK reference?
Was it? I don't think it was.
Have you not heard that, like, that's like one of the conspiracies around JFK is that, like, there's a person holding an umbrella that no one can ever identify, and they think they had something to do with it.
Oh, no, I was just talking about creating the shade.
Okay. We went in two very different paths. That is
I was just really confused because Dan had a JFK t-shirt on today, and so when you said that, I was like so baffled. I was like, how is JFK everywhere?
Look, everywhere. I promise I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just know them all.
Yeah, I just genuinely was talking about someone creating shade by holding an umbrella, but
Literal
also
shade,
like
yeah.
that's an interesting conspiracy theory that I'm gonna have to look into.
Well, that's why I was like, that's such a like fun reference. Like, that's such a fun way to do it. Like, so
just
anyways,
making metaphors out of conspiracy theories.
Look, I'm here for it. Here for it. So we're going through this whole situation and learning everything. And towards the end, Marcus, like, or Father Bennett's like, maybe it's not God's will to like save this girl. And Marcus is like, I don't care about God's will. And I was like, okay, we're in that stage now. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
We're angry again. Cool.
Yep. So we go to like the hotline. Everybody's sitting at the hotline listening for calls about Casey. And so Angela gets this call, and it's this man's voice that sounds like a demon, and asks if God is punishing her. And she's like going through this call. She's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Do you want me to just tell you where your daughter is?" And she's like, "Okay." And he's like, "She's right behind you." And she turns around, and it's like maggot face Casey behind her. Turns out this is all like in her head. She's having these weird like, what is it called, delusions of what's happening around her. And I can't figure out if it's like she's having a mental breakdown or she's having like visceral reactions, like where she's actually visualizing this, or if she's like only visualizing it in her head, you know, like is she seeing delusions?
I think she's having a mental breakdown, definitely, but I think having a mental breakdown is letting like the demon slip into her head. So I don't think it's delusion so much as like vision.
Right. And that's what I was trying to like differentiate between. So I agree. I think the demons are also trying to get in her head. I mean, yes, I'm sure that they are in a way, but yeah. So turns out it's all in her mind.
Yeah.
Maggie Casey is not behind her.
No.
Which is
she's not even awake. The phone didn't even ring. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows? But she didn't answer if it did. So we go back. We have a brief scene with Jessica and Tomas where Jessica turns out she came to the church to give him a key to her new apartment because she is leaving her husband.
And she's like, level of derogatory names that I called her during this scene. And she goes, "It's just a place where I'm not married and you're not a priest." And I go, "That's not how that fucking works."
Right. That's what I was just about to say. She's like, no one, like, there's nothing happening here. There's no judgment here. I'm like, that's not how, like, God works. You
Right.
don't get to like
You don't
close the
just stop being
door.
a priest because you opened the door to the secret hideaway. Like, fuck
Right.
off.
It's like like Jesus Christ. But
Oh
yeah.
my God, I
So
was so mad. I have never hated someone so much in a show about demons that's not related to the demons.
that's not a demon.
Like
Yeah.
sure, I hate the demons. I do. I think it's awful. I get mad at everyone, but my reactions to this woman who is not even part of like the actual evil on the show are probably uncalled for in comparison to my reactions to the
No,
demons, but I
I
hate
do not
her.
think they're uncalled for. I think they are perfectly spot on. She is
Yeah.
too much. Team too much. So we go back to the church, and Angela's trying to contain herself, and she turns to see Henry like sitting on the pew, looking sad. And it turns out that she's had these photo albums that he's always seen pictures of her mother in, and they're photo albums she found at his first store. And so he's like, "You've like these all these lies are coming out." And he's like, "You've lied to me about this now because like you said your mother was dead. You've lied about this." And he's like,
Yeah.
he says like the saddest thing. He's like, the one thing I've always been able to rely on. He's like, with everything going on in my head, the one thing that's always been consistent has been you and the girls. And he's like, you didn't even trust me enough to tell me when it started happening to Casey. And I was like, that's the part that like bothers me the most. Like, I mean,
Yes.
also like maybe don't make up a fake mother. Like that's also kind of weird. Like just be like,
Yeah.
we had a bad relationship. I don't keep pictures of
Well,
her.
and that's the thing is
Like,
just not even like okay, cool. So you changed your name and ran away.
right.
Okay. Why is that? And it's not like this show is from like in 1985 where like people didn't do that. Like people changed their name on a random Tuesday in 2016. Like
Right. Right. Yeah. No. So not that out of context, but so I get it. It's so like heartbreaking
I
seeing him
know.
because he like
It's awful.
it's so bad. And then Tomas walks in and he is just like livid. He's just mad at the world.
Yeah.
And he finds out that one of the flyers, they printed 500 of the flyers with the wrong phone number on it. And he just like throws it. And then he apologized immediately. But like he was just like over the top angry.
Yeah,
Um,
well, because he's losing his mind because he can't stop his
yeah,
boner urges.
yeah. And so then he overhears Tara, who is the person. I think she's the secretary, but like she is talking to one of the other girls and she's like, this one guy called and starts talking about all these wild dogs in his neighborhood and no one cares about these wild dogs. And Tomas just like stops and he's like, where are these wild dogs at? And immediately texts Marcus. And he's like, wild dogs in this neighborhood. I don't know what neighborhood, but he says the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then we go to the dinner. This
Well, because
shady.
the detail that we missed was earlier when Marcus said he was going to hunt for the demon. He said that the thing he was looking for was like groups of animals or packs of people
Right.
doing things that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And so these wild dogs weren't making any sense.
Correct.
So we go to the shady dinner now, and Bennett's there. Bennett is our like consistent
Eyes into the fucking
yeah,
shadiness.
yeah. And we have this like doctor who's talking about like angels on Earth and how people have been scared of them and all this different stuff and like how they've reacted. And then we learn that,
At first he sounds like reasonable. Like because he's talking about the fact that like people say things about guardian angels and angels being with you, but like the actual biblical depiction of angels is not like
yeah.
is like not kind and glowy. It's like genuinely scary. Like that's why every time an angel appears to a person, they're like, the fuck is happening?
Right.
And that is true.
Right, that's fine. That's totally okay.
It's just then the way he praises the choices of the angels and also gives them credit for things that aren't really how that works.
Yeah. And we learned that also at this dinner are the police superintendent, the head of the Teamsters, and the head of the stock exchange. So like we've walked into the 1% shady conspiracy theory.
Like, and here's the thing. Church or no church, if I go to a private dinner with that many people in power, 100% children are being sacrificed. Like that's
Yes. Yes, they're very much culty.
this
Like
is like an
this is
Epstein Island
yes,
group.
100%, 100%. Last place I want to be, but first place I want to be a fly on the wall. But
I don't.
I don't need to. I need to
Yeah.
know what's happening because if you know what's happening, you have a better chance of stopping it. I mean, these people are probably gonna like just kill you, so you probably don't.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing is like
you
I don't
know,
know that I want to be a
maybe.
fly on the wall because like I think I might have nightmares for the rest of my life.
Oh, for no, for sure you would have nightmares if you survived that long. But so
Oh yeah,
shady.
no,
Do
the
not
rest of
want to
my
be
life, my very short life, but
right. The next like 2 weeks you have. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, real bad stuff. So then we go to the Rance home, and Angela's walked in, and Chris is talking to this journalist, and Angela loses her mind. And I don't know if he's like I couldn't pick up on if he was like a news journalist or like a article, right? Like I don't know,
Right,
but he was
yeah.
some type of journalist. And Angela just immediately kicks him out and like throws his reporter, and like
Yep.
then Chris comments on it, and then she immediately kicks Chris out. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna kick everyone out of the house. No, that's fine.
Yep.
And she like loses it, and she's like, she was like, you exploited me, like that's what happened with this book, and now you're gonna do the same. Like she insinuates that it's the same thing happening with Casey, like she's only here
Yeah.
for the limelight, and she's like, you're not helping. And which like what she's been through is kind of like fair to like assume, but it's
Oh,
clearly not. But like it's fair to assume that. And then
yeah.
Chris starts
I
talking
wasn't mad
about
at her.
yeah, Chris starts talking about the life she lived since, and she's like, I've been taking Xanax, I've been drinking, it's like it's been really rough. And then we learn that Angela's actually been like following her like where she's at, and so she's known every place she's lived. And like that's kind of sad on both sides. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we're broken up in the heartbreak and don't get to move forward from that because we get a call from the coroner's office and they may have found Casey.
Yep.
And then we go back to the shady dinner where Bennett starts talking to this doctor and he's like, that was interesting things you've said. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you're here, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, problem is these angels you're referring to are demons. You realize these
Yeah.
are demons, not angels. And the guy, like, it's just the whole thing. It's a very short thing. So then we go to the
There's,
coroner's office.
yeah, the guy kind of finds it amusing that like
Yeah.
Bennett thinks he's fucked up.
Yeah, he wasn't offended by it. Like he wasn't like, oh my God, no, I was not talking about demons. No, he is just like, sure, whatever.
Use that word. It
Um,
comes from the Greek word. He's like explaining away the word.
yeah.
And okay, short mini rant here. That is one of my least favorite things in the entire fucking world. When people take and go, well, this translation of the Bible uses this word, but really in the Greek it means this. And so they weren't actually trying to say that. Like, no, the Bible doesn't get to like change its meaning to suit your needs. Like, do we all follow the Bible exactly? Absolutely not, because I'm wearing at least 3 different fabrics right now. So like I get it. I get it. It
And are there
is
things that may not were translated 100%? Sure. We lose
sure.
things over time.
But there have been hundreds of years of biblical scholars who have all agreed on the same thing. So your TikTok video isn't going to fucking change my mind.
Yeah. That's totally a fair rant. Totally
Sorry.
fair.
I just and it was just the way this guy was explaining away the Greek translation reminded me of all these like fucking like anti-theologians on TikTok, and I just got really angry.
Yeah. When they go to school for it and they spent their theological year studying, then we can talk.
Huh.
But that's not the case. Yeah, so we're at the coroner's office and there's like hella news people. They're like in the way everywhere. And so we get inside and we learn like the whole family is there. So we have Angela, Henry, Kat, Chris, and Tomas has shown up and everyone's
Because,
kind of like
he's at this point, he's part of the fucking family.
he's part of the family. He's been adopted in. And they go and we look and we get a brief like shot of like the top of the head. And it looks a lot like Casey.
I
like,
was so nervous. I didn't think it was going to be her,
like,
but I was a
not
little
because
nervous.
Right. Like there's so much to go, but like looking at those features, I was like, what are they gonna do with like is she gonna come back from the dead? Like that was my thought
Yeah.
because it did look so much like her. But it turns out it's not. And
Maybe I
Angela's
thought maybe it
reaction,
was her. I thought maybe it was her, and I thought maybe she finally like fought the demon enough that he just like killed her the way he did with
yeah,
Gabriel.
yeah. I thought he wasn't done with her yet. But when we come out and we learn it's not her, Angela's reaction is to immediately go hug Chris. And I was like, oh,
Beautiful.
performing thoughts, building relationships. And we go to Marcus, who's off on his hunt to find the wild dogs. And there is a slew of homeless people in this like tunnel situation.
Okay, before he gets to the tunnel, before he even gets to the tunnel and the homeless people, he's walking and a Pied Piper level fuck ton of rats run out of the tunnel. And I go, oh, look, rats doing the absolute wrong thing. I guess that's where the demons are. Marcus is going to follow it as a viewer. As a human, I go, why the fuck would you walk toward the giant pile of rats? No, thank you.
Absolutely.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. But Marcus is too good for this world, so he does the right thing. He goes in the tunnel, he's like calling out for Casey and going around these like people who are loose, they look like they're like super on drugs, like high on drugs. And it's probably a mixture of drugs and demon possession, but like it's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of a sudden one guy just starts saying, stop him. And then they all jump. And I was like, Jesus Christ, he's gonna die. And doesn't. He starts yelling in the name of Christ, stop, and they all get really quiet and back off of him. And I was like, okay, are his like God powers back? Like what's happening here?
I mean,
And that
I
was
think they
very
kind of
quick.
have been for a little bit. Like
Well, they
he's been
have,
warming up.
but I feel like that's the quickest response we've had from demons, like when he's yelled at them.
Well, and
And
I think it's because a lot of them are like lower level. Like the
mhm,
more powerful the demon, the harder it is to exercise them. I think these are like we're talking like
these are fresh demons too. Like I think.
yeah, these are like lower level like demons,
Mhm.
people who don't have the will to fight kind of thing.
Right, right. And then everything's quiet, and then Casey leaps out from under this pile and does her crab walk that people always think of, and it is just
Disgusting looking.
terrifying. Yes. To go back to the dinner party because that's our brief interlude from the demons, kind of. And
Kind of.
so the bishop that we saw in the first episode shows up, and he's got he starts telling like this really terrible Apple story about how he like really screwed over this like market guy. He's like, he told me I can have whatever I want because I was a priest. I just reached straight in the middle and like ruined his whole life. That's not quite what he said, but
But
and he was like
it
so
is. I mean, it's
glib
basically
about
exactly what he said.
yeah, he was like so glum about it, and he was just like, yeah, I could do whatever I want, and then like total distraction, but like the whole setup at this table with the like the way that they're all terrible people reminds me of the scene in the last Harry Potter film that we start with, where Voldemort's like at the head of the table, and you have all the Death Eaters. That's all I could think of in this
The
scene.
only thing I could think of was they had the film at like the thing at an angle and they were like showing the backs of a lot of these people's heads because they weren't really focusing on who they were, except for the like three
Right.
that were like important people. And at the one end of the table from the back of the head, it was an African American man. And I really thought Bennett was still there for a hot second. And I was like, absolutely not. Because I knew he wasn't a part of it. So I couldn't
Right.
imagine how he would have handled staying, like being at that table while that was happening. And I was like panicking for a hot second that I was like, what is going to happen to Father Bennett?
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm so terrified for
Could you
him.
imagine after episode 1 feeling this strongly about something bad happening to Father Bennett?
No, no,
No.
I would have never cared, never cared. And yeah, but
And
now
now
I'm
he's the only
terrified.
person like I actually hope nothing happens to.
You know. But yeah, so he puts down the ashes and like smoke rises, and it's very, very magical seeming. And They all want to be like inhabited, possessed by this demon.
They're playing like fucking weird classical music and like praying to the devil.
Like choose.
It's like what people thought kids were doing in the 70s in basements.
Yes, yes, 100%. Um, but it turns out that this demon entity picked the police superintendent. Oh my gosh, police superintendent.
Because that
And
bodes well for our story.
right, right. And now we see that when chosen by this demon entity, you get that third eye underneath one of your eyeballs. Just looks very
Fucking
strange.
creepy. I
I don't
don't like
enjoy the
it.
visual. I appreciate the visual, but I don't enjoy
I
it.
don't enjoy the visual. I don't appreciate the visual. I don't care for the visual. I don't want it anywhere near me.
And Maria is pissed.
She's
She's like,
crying that the demon is not inside of her.
ugh, ugh, very uncomfortable. So icky. No, thank you, Maria. So we go back to Marcus and he's following Casey, obviously. And she's gone down to the water's edge and she's like eating an animal. And
Yeah,
it's
which was fucking
disgusting.
disgusting. But
So bad.
I immediately was like, oh, thank God she's in the ocean. Just baptize her.
You're right. Yes, I had the same thought. And so he starts praying over her, and then she attacks him, and he like shifts gears and starts baptizing her, and he's like dunking her in the water, and then the very last moment we get Casey back for a minute,
Hold on.
and
When
she
he's
says,
dunking her and he's saying that and he's like be buried with Christ and like the prayer of baptism, there's this weird like burst of light coming out of her body, and then all of the
"Yeah,
fish in the lake are dead, which is the fucking creepiest thing.
yeah, just bad things are happening." It's, oh gosh. But for a
But
brief moment, our last,
I knew in that moment that we were gonna get Casey back. Like it was, I
yeah,
mean, I was also then slightly afraid that she was dead, but like, but I was like, well,
I
at
thought
least
we'd
if
get her
she's
back. I don't know how long we'll keep her. I think it may just be
no
this brief interlude. But
right.
the very last thing that happens is she says, "He's coming back. Help me."
Um, Dan goes, well, at least like we have a brief interlude there. Like the demon's gone for the moment. I go, well, yeah, that one. What about the one that just came out of the
Right.
fucking jar? And he goes, okay,
Yeah.
well, it's not getting better.
And they've got lots of
Dust.
organs. They're like summoning all these demons. Like this is not a one and done thing. We are not near over. The Pope hasn't even arrived yet. So, you know, that's where we end.
I'm like very
Fishville is
scared.
where we
I'm
then
very
end.
scared for the Pope.
Me too, me too. I have one piece of trivia, and it's that Sharon Glass, who plays Chris, is only 13 years older than Gina Davis.
Yeah, that
So
checks
clearly
out. That
not,
happens a lot in shows like
yeah,
this.
which is very common.
I mean, to be fair, Chris McNeil will never look old. She clearly
Right.
had Reagan young.
Yeah. So, and she's, a famous actress. So of course, like she's kept her youthful appearance.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, ooh, do you want to punch in the face?
Oh, the list. The list goes
I
on
know.
and on.
I was like, this is
But
an easy one.
I am going to choose the fucking asshole bishop who stole an apple and then laughed about it and then prayed to Lucifer. Like
Yeah. He was also my first pick. He sucks. He sucks a
he was
lot.
only very slightly my first pick though.
Well, yeah. My second pick is Maria.
Oh no, she wasn't even my
I,
second pick. My second pick was the fucking sheriff.
yeah, he's a good pick
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I just like Maria's really being shady. She's trying to like loop Tomas in, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
I've hated her since the beginning, so it's not a hard pick for me. Um, so who's your MVP?
Marcus.
Yeah, he's literally the only one.
Yeah.
I had to I had to deep dive on a limb. I mean, like sure Bennett, but he's kind of like subtle this episode. So
Yeah.
my MVP, I picked Cherry because she solved the whole like
Yeah.
uh
Tattersall
Star like
mystery.
Counter
Yeah.
mystery. Yeah, I'm like making some waves. So I picked
Yeah.
Cherry.
Yeah, no,
But Marcus is the true answer.
absolutely. I mean,
Saving the world.
I did also think of Chris a little bit for apologizing and for using her powers to help Casey. I did consider Kat for like knowing that she fucked up and standing up for her mom, but like at the end of the day, Marcus fucking baptized somebody in like
And
the
he's all
lake.
alone doing all of this. Like everyone's talking about fixing it, and he's actually the one going out and
Yeah,
fixing it. Like,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
And like from
Well,
going from I don't give a shit what God's will is to having the most powerful baptism in the his since John the
right.
Baptist, like okay, bud.
Being like, I'm the only one following God's will. Like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, so do you have any predictions?
Um no. I have things that I am scared about. Like I'm terrified for what happens when the Pope fucking gets there. I am scared that uh Angela slash Reagan is going to be emotionally fragile and the demon is going to come back to her. I am scared for what is going to happen to Henry. I'm nervous because we haven't seen Luis in a couple episodes, and my thoughts about him are still not good. I don't know what the fuck Maria's problem is, but it's not going to be good. And also, like, what's going to happen now that Casey is back and they found her, but the cop is the fucking leader of the demons? So
Yeah, yeah.
I have no good thoughts. No, like,
No
solid
good thoughts for
predictions,
sure.
but not a single good thought.
I will say my one positive. I think that by the end, I actually think before the end that Casey will be free of the demon. Um, I do think she's gonna find her way out. I think that's the
Is
only
free of the
good thing.
demon. No, I think she is free of the demon. I just think that she also knows that her mom is the target
Yeah.
and that like bigger shit is happening. And so I think that she personally is free of the demon, but it doesn't just go away. Like Angela's still having
And,
residual demon energy.
but I think she's gonna get possessed again. I don't think she's done being possessed. Like, but I think by the end she will end up being free.
See, I don't know. I think there's too many other things happening.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
Um, for sure. I think Maria's gonna do something like, gosh, I don't even
Crazy.
know, like
Fucking batshit
insane.
crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Father Bennett's probably gonna die. Um,
That is
he's too good
dumb.
and he's too integrated on both sides, so I think he's probably like gonna die.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if like I don't know what's gonna happen to the Rance family. I'm concerned that everything's gonna get straightened out and then they're gonna end up divorced because Henry can't trust
Yeah.
anyone
I'm
anymore.
gonna I'm gonna be honest. My only real thought is that the Rance family is going to be irrelevant in season 2. Like that their
To be
stories.
relevant?
Yeah, I think their story is only going to
Okay.
matter in this first season.
Interesting. Okay.
I
Fine.
think
I like
I
it.
think that basically they are our conduit into Marcus and Tomas, and then we're going to follow Marcus in season 2. That's my thought.
Interesting. Not a bad guess. Not a bad prediction. Um, yeah. So I think that's that.
But oh, also just a thought I had. This show was on Fox.
Yep. Yeah.
Because Doug asked me what channel it was on when some of the organs were being shown, and I looked it up, and then I said, "What?"
Yeah. Wild. Wild. I don't know
Great.
what channel I would have been. Maybe like CBS. I wouldn't have been like super shocked if it was on, but like, I don't know.
I think
Fox
even
would not have been.
CBS. I don't think even CBS. It's a little like it's not like horribly graphic, but I would have thought like TNT, like
Or like
AMC, something
FX or
like
something.
yeah, like something that's not
Like,
network
yeah,
TV.
yeah, that makes sense. I don't know.
Well,
Wild.
what a time.
What a time to be alive. So, if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, you want to talk about literally anything, if you experience an exorcism, we'd like to hear about it. I'd like to throw that out there just for funsies.
Wow.
Um, and to do so, you can email us, deafandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Deaf and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you on Sunday for Sci-Fi Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.